New Relic groups your app's data into useful data components called transactions, which are usually based on the method names in your app. Because some transactions are more important to your business than others, New Relic's Key Transactions feature lets you closely monitor and receive alerts about these business-critical transactions. This tutorial will cover how to create a key transaction, use key transactions to monitor your app more closely, and set alerts to notify you if a key transaction is performing poorly. Each key transaction includes several important data elements. These are the key transaction's name, end user and app response time, call counts, and error rates. The Key Transactions feature is available with any New Relic paid account type above standard level. You can find your key transactions through two different routes, from your main app's list view or from any app's overview dashboard view. To navigate to key transactions from your New Relic account's main app's list view, click on the Key Transactions tab at the top of the page to see a list of all your key transactions. Or, you can see key transactions specific to a single app from that app's overview dashboard. Select the Transactions option on the left under the Monitoring section, then select the specific transaction you want to view, which will open a window with details about that transaction. In the upper right corner of that window, you'll see a link to Key Transaction. This link will take you to the Key Transaction Overview page. If you don't have any key transactions, you will see a Welcome page. You can create key transactions from either of the two navigation routes. If you want to create several key transactions, or create key transactions from different apps, you can create a key transaction from the main app list. To do this, select Key Transactions from the menu option at the top. Then click on the Add More button in the upper right corner of the page. This opens a dialog box where you can find the app you want to set up a key transaction for. Use the search field to find the app you want to create a key transaction for, and then find the specific transaction you want to track. You can give this new key transaction a custom name. When the Key Transaction button activates, you can click that to begin tracking. Finally, you can go directly to the Overview dashboard for your new key transaction using the button that appears once you start tracking. If you are drilling down into an app and want to identify a key transaction immediately, create a key transaction from within the app itself. From the App Overview dashboard, select the Transactions option in the menu on the left. A list of transactions will appear for you to choose from. Click on your specific transaction to open the Transaction Details window. In the upper right corner of this window, there is a link to Track as Key Transaction. When you click this link, a dialog box opens where you can give this key transaction a name. Then click the Track Key Transaction button to begin tracking. Again, you can go directly to the Overview dashboard for your new key transaction using the button that appears once you start tracking. Now that you have a key transaction to work with, let's take a look at what kinds of information you can see and actions you can take in your key transactions list. You can find out the original method name of a key transaction by hovering over the key transaction's name. You can also filter the list of key transactions by entering a search term in the search term window above the list of key transactions. Or, you can choose from a drop-down menu of available preset filters with which to search by using your search terms. You can also tag transactions in your key transactions list. Tags allow you to quickly filter your searches to see specific groups of key transactions. To add a tag to a key transaction, click on the tag icon next to the transaction name. This opens a field where you can add a new tag or edit existing tags. You can also assign the same tag to a collection of transactions using the tag icon to the right of the search field at the top of the list. This feature will assign the tag you enter to all currently visible transactions. The Key Transaction Overview dashboard shows details about each individual key transaction and is organized like the App Overview dashboard. You can hover over any chart to see notes about the data, as well as a corresponding dot at that same point in time in each of the other charts. If you want to view a single part of the transaction data, you can toggle other elements of the chart off and on again. You can view data in the main chart for both app server and browser as histograms and percentiles, in addition to the default average response time chart, using the drop-down menu next to the main chart title. The Apdex chart on the right shows the Apdex score for this transaction. This is an industry-standard way for measuring the end user's satisfaction for an application. You can find out more about how the Apdex score is calculated by hovering over the Apdex score info icon. If you click on the icon, it will take you to the Docs page, which has much more detailed information. Below the main chart, you'll see a list of the traces for this key transaction, as well as a chart showing the error rates. Another great feature here is the Compare with Yesterday and Last Week checkbox, which allows you to compare this key transaction's performance trends from today, yesterday, and last week. The Map menu option on the left will show you the relationship between the key transaction and the other transactions that are being called. In this example, I'm looking at the traced error controller index, and I can see that it is calling permissions thrift endpoint, login service production, and time slice service production. You'll notice that the line connecting the time slice service production to the traced error controller index is thicker than the other lines. This is because the percent of total calls is much higher. You can mouse over this line to see the call ratio. In this example, it is 1 to 1.84, which means that for every call to this key transaction, 1.84 of those calls goes to the time slice service. Another feature of key transactions is the Service Level Agreement Report, or SLA report. You can generate and download daily and weekly SLA reports for your key transactions. The SLA report includes information about the key transaction's requests, response times, and end-user satisfaction levels. In this example, if I select Load Time Sec, it will open a chart with that data. I can collapse options below that to view the chart more easily. I can also download a CSV version of this report to use elsewhere. Once you've created your key transaction, you will most likely want to be notified if something significant happens in that key transaction. Before setting up your alerts, you'll want to set the conditions under which alerts are triggered for this key transaction. In order to get the most benefit from your key transaction, you can set individual apdex thresholds with meaningful levels for that transaction. You can do this in your key transactions list. At the end of the row for each key transaction, you'll see a gear icon. Click on that to open a window where you can adjust apdex thresholds. Once your conditions are established, you can set up alerts to notify you if something significant happens. All New Relic alert notifications, including key transaction alerts, are managed through alert policies. All alert policies have three main elements: conditions under which alerts are triggered, alert channels to indicate where alert notifications should go, and an assigned group to indicate who to send the alert to. New Relic has established default alert policy conditions, which provide a good baseline indicator, though it's a good idea to set more specific thresholds for your environment in order to get the most out of your key transactions. To set alert channels and assign groups, click on the Alert Channels tab to open a window where you can click on the Create Channels link. The Create Channels link takes you to a view where you can create groups who will receive specific alert notifications, and below that, the channels that the alert notifications will be sent through. Once this is done, you can assign channels for this policy by clicking the Select Channels button. This opens a dialog box where you can check the channels, users, and groups who should receive these alert notifications. For more information about setting up alert policies and notification channels, visit docs.newrelic.com and search for APM alerts. Once your alert policy and notification channels are set, you are ready to assign key transactions to this policy. Click the Assign Key Transaction button to open a dialog box where you can search for the correct key transaction. Then simply click the Assign Key Transaction button to add a single key transaction or multiple key transactions to the policy. Now that your alerts are set up, you can view them by clicking the Alerts tab on the left in the Key Transaction Overview dashboard. This brings up a list of all alerts for this key transaction. You can see a more detailed view of an alert by clicking on the name. This detailed view shows you the specific events that occurred during this alert, charts showing the average response time, apdex score, and throughput, the alert status, which shows when the alert began and if it is ongoing, a button to acknowledge the alert, and a link to the associated app's performance during the alert. Now that you know how to create a key transaction and set up alerts to monitor your application more closely, you're ready to start tracking your most critical transactions and improving your app's performance.